So I can guarantee that you have never seen this garlic scape recipe before. And I know this because I tried to find something along these lines and couldn't find anything on the internet. So today we're gonna make a deconstructed falafel bowl with a garlic scape TOUM sauce. And the first thing that we need are garlic scapes. And as I harvest these garlic scapes, a couple of the other ways that I love to use them are just chopping them up, throwing them into the oven with a whole bunch of vegetables, and then creating a roasted veggie bowl, or making a garlic scape pesto and then adding some sun-dried tomatoes and green beans to it. But this recipe today might be my favorite. So let's head inside to start putting it together. And so to get started, we're gonna make our garlic scape TOUM sauce. And to do this, all that we need is a ½ cup of chopped up garlic scapes. Once we've chopped those up, we just pop them into our food processor and we add 1 teaspoon of kosher salt. And then we pop that onto the food processor and begin to chop it up for about 30 seconds to a minute so that it's nice and loosely chopped up, but not a fine paste yet. Next, we're going to add in a ¼ cup of a non-flavored oil, such as canola oil, and we're going to slowly drizzle that into the food processor while we chop it up. And you're going to need to pause every now and then to scrape down the sides and get them back into the bottom where the blade is. Once that's been chopped up for about a minute, we're then going to get 1/4 cup of juice from a lemon. And then same thing, simply drizzle this in while continuing to chop up the garlic scapes in the food processor. And then to finish off, all that we need to do is add 1 more ¼ cup of oil and drizzle that in while chopping it up. Let's take a look. That's what we want to see. All right, so I'm gonna pop this into the fridge while we get started on the rest of things here. And next up, I'm gonna get the couscous going so that it can just cook while we prep everything else. And for this, I'm just gonna follow the instructions on the box. Recommend you doing the same thing. If you do want a little extra punch of flavor though, I like to add about 1 tablespoon of vegetable broth powder in there. Woo! Alrighty, so the couscous is starting to cook. And just as a side note, I prefer to go with the pearls opposed to the completely small ones. I just like the texture on them a little bit more. And so as that cooks, I'm now going to start heating up some oil over medium-high heat. And that's what we're going to use to shallow fry the falafel on. So while that heats up, I'm going to mix up the falafel. And again, I'm just going with something from a box here, and I'm just going to follow the water ratios that it shares on the box and would encourage you to do the same. Alrighty, the falafel is now mixed up and the oil is hot, so we're going to go ahead and get those in there. To do this, I just use 2 spoons, turn it into a little bit of like a falafel puck, and then pop it in. And then I leave them on each side for about 2 to 3 minutes. I just double check until one side is nice and golden brown, and then I flip it over. Oh no, camera just said low battery while the falafel's on. Gotta quickly change it. Okay, please, don't be burnt, don't be burnt, don't be burnt. They're burnt. Okay, got a little bit intense there, but the stove is now off, so we should be into the home stretch. And it's time to just now chop up our fresh ingredients to then begin preparing it all. So first thing I'm going to do is head out to the garden and grab some kale out of the kale jungle. And then I'm just going to chop those up into some small pieces. Next, I'm going to grab some pickles that I preserved from last season and chop those up. The tomatoes aren't in season yet, but I picked one up from the market and I'm just going to cut half of that up into smaller chunks. And then second last, I'm going to dice up a little bit of red onion. And lastly, I'm going to grab a nice chunk of feta cheese and just crumble that apart. Alrighty, so everything is now prepped. Last thing that we got to do is start throwing it all together and enjoying it. So first thing that I'm going to do is grab a couple scoops of couscous and put that as the base of my bowl. Then I'm going to take a couple spoonfuls of our garlic scape TOUM and drizzle that over top of the couscous. And then I'm just going to start popping my toppings, fill up the top. So first my falafel, then my kale, my pickles, followed by the tomato, and then the red onions, and then lastly the feta cheese. And then last thing that I'm going to do is add 1 more scoop of the TOUM right in the middle. All right, fine. I'm going to garnish with some fresh garlic scapes as well. And now let's eat. Alrighty, moment of truth. Oh, it's so good. Man, every single time when I have this, I'm just like, I cannot believe how much flavor is in there. And the garlic scapes I absolutely love because it's a more mild garlic flavor than your kind of traditional garlic cloves that would be used in a TOUM. And then when you add that to just the texture of the couscous, the density of the falafel, and then all the freshness from those garden goodies, it's just a pairing made in absolute heaven here. So folks, that's everything for today here. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, this recipe, giving you a new idea how to use your garlic scapes. If you do have any questions on it, just leave those down in the comments. Other than that, can't wait to catch you on the next video. See you then.